Let me be upfront with you right now. I have an incredibly Ryan nature. I love talking to people. I love getting to know people. And that's why I love networking events. In my travels, when I was at a loss, when bad things happened, my Ryan nature almost always saved me. So why did I just mention that? Why am I talking about my gregarious nature that's deeply ingrained into the heart of my psyche? Because my entire life I have taken other people's opinions, words, and thoughts very seriously, but in a good way. I love talking to people, I love getting to know their life experience, their knowledge. But when someone says something for a long time, for many years, I would take it to be absolute truth. I wasn't really thinking for myself. I did have my own opinions and my own thoughts, but if someone gave me their way of looking at things or their fact that they knew, I took it to be true. Or I would reconcile against my own truth and put their truth first. The goal of today is for me to share 3 very popular beliefs, things that you may believe yourself. I'm going to share my own experience, why I believe my truth, my way of looking at that. And let you think about it, let you ponder, why could this be true? Or maybe you believe your way, that's fine, but think about it. Raise your hand if you've ever heard, know your audience. I've heard that over and over and over. I disagree completely. Speaking is not about knowing your audience. In my opinion, based on my own experiences, speaking is about knowing your message. I was in Washington, D.C. about 2 years ago, and it was a startup event where people were creating businesses and they were gathering and getting their ideas together. And there was a speaker on the stage, and I normally do remember names. I'm pretty good with names, but I do not remember this guy's name. But I remember he got up, and he said, I have not had a chance for one moment to meet any of you, and I don't know any of you, but I know my message. And he was the best speaker in that entire evening. That stuck with me. He knew his message, and when you know your message, the audience will create itself. Yes, in a perfect world, I would like to, or any other speaker would like to get to know every audience member. But you don't always have that luxury. So know your message. Another thing that I've heard said all the time, and it becomes true for a lot of people, it's all who you know. It's all who you know. I've heard that from people I've been at networking events, and friends, and mentors, and teachers, and professors. I disagree completely. Based on my own experience, it's not who you know, but what you know. I'll give you a quick example from my own life experience. I was in Budapest, Hungary, and I lived there for an entire year. I knew no one there when I first got there. No connections, no friends, 4,444 miles away from home. The way I was able to land my dream job, a job that funded my travel to 50 countries across 4 different continents, is what I knew. I knew sales, I knew marketing, I knew how to mesh the two with a strong feel for finance. Not a lot of sales and marketing guys have that numbers feel, and knowing that is what allowed me to land this amazing paid job, full-time, in downtown Budapest. I was a junior in college, and it's helped me in every interview since then. When people look at my resume and say, you worked abroad for a year, what was that? After college? No, that was during college, full-time. I only landed that job because of what I knew. I had no connections, but my knowledge is what saved me. But maybe it's the same for you, I don't know, but just think about these as I bring them to your mind. The final one I want to mention today, that I've heard all the time, nonstop, is that don't sweat the small stuff. I've heard over and over and over, don't sweat the small stuff. Out of all the ones I mentioned today, this is the one I disagree with the most. Vehemently, passionately. My Ryan nature kind of fades away as I get into this because you have to absolutely sweat the small stuff. Yes, worry about the details. Have you ever heard the saying, the devil's in the details? That to me is the epitome of being exactly who you want to be in the world. Think to yourself, how do you want to represent yourself each day, each week, each month of your life? When you worry about the details, you help funnel yourself to the person you want to be. Your book will be better, your projects will be better, your friends will know you better because you're worried about the details. One very quick example that I want to share with you right now that comes to mind. I know a storyteller, and it's my storytelling coach, and I was meeting with her. She's really amazing, and she was telling me I really appreciate you sharing that with me, because she was telling me, oh, don't worry about the details. And I said, I'm sorry, I have to disagree with you. I don't normally disagree with people, but I think the devil is in the details, and you do have to worry about the details. And she thought about it, and she said, you know what? You're right. And by the way, this is not about me being right. I'm just sharing with you something I experienced. She said, you know what? You're right. I never got my PhD. But if I applied what you said, just worried about the details and took a little bit of action every day, I would have my PhD. She's an older woman. She's about 70. And she said, if I just worked on my PhD for 5 minutes a day for the last 20 years, I'd have my PhD now. She said, I was so concerned with the big picture. I was so overwhelmed with having to do all these things that I did nothing. She said, if I forgot about the big picture and instead worried about one small detail, I'd have my PhD. I appreciated her saying that because it helped me realize that everything that I've heard from other people, let me rephrase that. Many of the things that I've heard from other people in my life may not be true. From the bottom of my heart, I respect other people's opinions. My biggest problem is I'm probably too respectful. So when someone tells me something, I nod, I'm like, yes, it's true, it's true. That's not always the case. Now, it doesn't mean that I have to become argumentative, but maybe I can find a balance, and as I improve myself, say to people, okay, well, I see where you're coming from, but with that said, let me share my own experience. The key is that the value is in your life experience. Neil Donald Walsh was talking to God in conversations with God, and God says to Neil Donald Walsh, the truth is in your life experience. Don't take what someone else says to be gospel. Respect them, be friends with them, even get to know them as well as you possibly can, but don't take it to be truth. Take your experience to be the truth. If I forgot about that, I would have never known that it's about knowing your message instead of your audience. It's about knowing that you can share with other people what's inside you without worrying about what other people have gone through, because your experience matters. Thank you.
You take a few minutes now to think about what Jeff said and critique his talk. That would be